Welcome, Wildcat families, to Cat Chat Live. My name is Nikki Jenkins, and I'm the Director of Parent and Family Engagement at the University of Kentucky. And we are very excited today to have a discussion about how to keep your data private and how to help your students do the same. And so we have some really special guests who are going to be joining us from our Information Technology Services area. Today, if you have questions throughout our presentation, feel free to put your questions in the comments, and we will get to as many questions live as we can. This presentation is being recorded and will be provided on our Facebook page and our YouTube page later this week for you to review in case you miss anything. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to our amazing ITS team to teach us everything we need to know about data privacy.
Thank you for inviting us to speak today. I am Michael Sharon, and my role at the university is Director of Privacy, Governance, Risk, and Compliance. Jason?
Hello, my name is Jason. I am a cybersecurity engineer on the cybersecurity operations team. Thanks.
My name is Jackie Campbell. I also work in governance, risk, and compliance and privacy with Michael. Jen?
Good day, everyone. My name is Jen Edwards, and I'm the Director of Incident Management, Enterprise Policy, and Cybersecurity Awareness and Training here at the university. And thanks again for having us. As a reminder, I know Nikki said this when we started, but the session is being recorded, so be mindful when you're sharing personal details that those will be out there for everyone to watch and see. And we will take questions anytime at the end or after the session is over. It'll be posted out there, and you can feel free to post questions when it's posted, and we'll do our best to reply to those as well. First, we'll kick it off with privacy and your data with Michael.
So the question comes up, what is privacy? Cybersecurity is not privacy. You can be secure and not be private. Like, for example, you can lock all the doors in your car, roll up all the windows, and you're secure, but you're really not private. And the same holds true in a digital world. Privacy and cybersecurity work hand in hand, but they are not the same. And privacy in and of itself in the United States wasn't truly defined until about 1890 in the Harvard Law Review. It was coined the term, the right to be left alone. And all of privacy in the United States is sort of based on that core concept. But if you look at the Bill of Rights, you can see that our founding fathers had privacy in mind, as 4 of the 10 Bill of Amendments in the Bill of Rights all address some level of privacy. And add the 1st, 3rd, 4th, 9th, and the 14th, and that creates an umbrella of privacy that is the foundation for privacy laws and regulations in the United States. Next slide, please. And so the university has a legal and an ethical responsibility to protect the data that you are entrusting to us from our students, our employees, and our partners in the community. And there are several regulations and laws that dictate this, from FERPA, HIPAA, the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, GLBA as is known, even COPPA, which is about children online, as well as privacy laws written by our own Kentucky State Legislature that we are required to adhere to. And failure to adhere to those privacy laws can result in hefty fines as well as lawsuits. But just as importantly, we have an ethical responsibility, and that is to protect our students, staff, faculty, etc., from things such as scams, identity theft, and so forth. You're going to hear my colleagues talk about some of the technical ways the university protects that data, from third-party risk assessments for our vendors to phishing training and vulnerability scanning. But that's only part of the job. understanding the things that you can do to help protect yourself is also important. Privacy isn't something that can be achieved entirely with technical controls. Private information in the hands of a nefarious individual can do serious harm to people. The more information that you have publicly available, the easier it is to target you, and the easier it is for malicious actors to invade your personal privacy. It can also result in people being less willing to express themselves, which stifles the exchange of ideas, and which is really the core essence of the American democratic value, is that free exchange of ideas. Next slide.
Thank you, Michael. So now we're going to hop over to some of the things that UK and some of the things that we do as an IT organization to help protect the students' data and also your data as a parent or family of the student. And I'll hand it over to Jason.
Hey, thank you, Jen. Here at UK, we urge the use of two-factor or multi-factor authentication, which is an identity and access management security method that requires at least two forms of identification to access resources and data. Authentication is the first step in access control, and there are three common factors used for authentication, such as something you know, like a password or a memorized PIN, something you have, maybe a smartphone or a hardware token, and then something you are, maybe a fingerprint or facial recognition. We recommend students use at least hardware tokens or push notifications. Hardware tokens in the form of a key fob that produces codes every few seconds to a minute, and this is the oldest form of two-factor. And then you got push notifications, which we recommend. Push two-factor is a method that requires no password. This type of 2FA sends a signal to your phone, or so you can either approve, deny, accept, or decline access to a website or an app that we need to verify your identity. And I have a chart for reference over here on the right of the screen, and that's because over the years, passwords weaken dramatically as technology evolves, and hackers become increasingly more proficient in hacking those passwords. So something you can reference later or get online just to see if you're curious on how fast passwords are being hacked. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Oh, no, sorry. Go ahead. I was looking. So, also at the university, one of several tools used to protect your students' UK email inbox is Exchange Online Protection. EOP is a cloud-based filtering service that protects our organizations against spam, malware, and other email threats. Bad actors, always evolving, right? And if your student finds a suspicious mail in their inbox, just have them self-report the message as spam, phishing, without opening it. Next.
Thanks, Jason. So some of the other things we do, we put an educational and awareness building website out there. If you have your phone, you can feel free to scan that QR code that you see on your screen now. That will take you to our CyberSafe Cats website. And on that website, you can see the latest and alerts, the latest warnings that are issued by the federal government or by our cybersecurity team of threats that may be out there. And these are not only threats that your students face at the university, but also threats that you might want to be aware of in your own workplace or at home on your private accounts. On that page, you will also find activities, our annual CyberCon conference, which is a lot of fun and a great way for your students to have an educational experience, as well as links to trainings that they have available out there. You can also follow us at any of our social media channels, and you'll also get alerts and updates. You can pick whichever one that you prefer. All of the alerts go to all of the different platforms, so whichever one works best for you. Another thing that's out there that ITS puts out there is 24-hour monitoring and support. So if your student's having an issue, if they've clicked on a suspicious link, they can call 24/7 and call our help desk at 218-HELP, prefix 859, of course, or they can visit online at the Tech Help Center or either a kiosk that's at the Student Center or the library to search and find how they can help themselves if they feel that they've clicked on a link or they see something suspicious or have any concerns about privacy or cybersecurity. Next, we're going to talk about some of the top tips, ways they can use these tools we've been talking about, or some other ways that they can use to keep their data safe. And we'll first talk about you and your children that you may still have in your household. And we often get asked, how do I educate my child at home? What if they're in kindergarten? What if they're in 7th grade? They're not worried about the things that are going on at UK. Or how do I educate myself? One of the best ways that I can tell you to do that is to go to YouTube. There are lots of really good videos out there, and search digital citizenship for kids, digital citizenship for middle schoolers, digital citizenship for 6th graders, whatever your specific audience may be. And there are lots of age-appropriate videos that teach them the skills they know to keep their data private, and also that are age-appropriate with the things they're being exposed to in schools and with their friends. I always encourage folks, I'm a mom of a teenager myself, to watch the videos with your children, and ask questions and discuss with them afterwards everything that you've seen, and define boundaries that work for you and your family. Everyone's going to have different guidelines or different ways they want to approach data sharing and how folks use things online. And then I always say, share with care. It's not only social media that we worry about these days and what information children are putting out there, but also gaming and chatting in gaming chat rooms. And then also we have lots of artificial intelligence engines popping up, and being careful what data that people put in those, because those take our data and use that, and it could end up in somebody else's queue that they're looking at one day. So just be mindful of all of these different advances in technology and all of the ways they interconnect with strangers, whether that be someone or something they've never met before, and what they're sharing out there. And Jackie's going to talk a little bit about social media a little bit later and get more in depth on that. Next, we'll hop over to Jackie to give you some examples of house rules that potentially you could work with boundaries with your children at home.
Thank you, Jen. And I just want to add my welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're happy to share this information with you. The Office of Privacy Commissioner of Canada has some amazing information on their website if you ever want to visit it sometime. One of the most useful things that I saw were some privacy house rules. The writing is fairly small, so let me go over them quickly for you. We will think before we click. We know photos, videos, comments, or personal information can sometimes be tough to take down. We will ask ourselves, what would grandma, grandpa, or a favorite teacher think if he or she saw this? We will respect the privacy of others online. We will never write rude or hurtful messages. If we are upset or angry with someone, we'll talk to them in person. We'll work with an adult we trust to learn how to post things online. We will tell an adult if someone is being mean to us online. We will tell an adult if we're worried about something we see online. We will remember the things we see on the internet aren't always true. If we don't know someone in person, we will check with a parent or guardian before communicating with him or her online. We won't tell people where we are when we're online, and we'll think twice before providing details of our activities publicly. We would highly recommend for you to come up with your own house rules in your own house with your children, share it, and live it with your kids. Next slide. So some more top tips. And as Jen was saying, we're going to talk about social media. So before COVID, the Pew Research Foundation, it's a Washington, D.C. think tank, created a report on parents, teens, and online privacy. They came up with some interesting numbers. It's not too surprising to find out that over 70% of parents are concerned about how their child is interacting with people they don't know online. Following that, over 80% of parents are concerned about how much information advertisers can learn about their children, but about their online behavior. Since COVID and the explosion of online communication, I'm sure those numbers have risen quite a bit. We all know that oversharing personal details on social media is an issue that we need to be concerned about and discuss more frequently. Biometrica, a data company that focuses the research on public safety and privacy, will tell you that 8 out of 10 babies, yes, babies, as well as 9 out of 10 two-year-olds already have an online presence. If we are not concerned enough by what our children are sharing online, there are some parents that begin with ultrasound pictures and share an average of 1,300 photos and videos of their children before the age of 13. They now even have a term for it. They call it sharenting. We need to recognize that children have no control over what is shared of them online. What we may think is cute or funny can actually follow them for a lifetime. A related concern is identity theft. It's estimated by the year 2030, up to 2/3 of identity fraud will come from children's identities, as they are an attractive target with little or no credit history attached. There are things being done to protect our data and that of our children. In addition to all the regulatory entities Michael mentioned earlier, COPPA is the Children's Online Privacy and Protection Act of 1998 and is enforced by the FTC. COPPA gives parents control over what information websites can collect from children under 13 and imposes fines and penalties for those who do not comply. Another thing we can do is spend some time with our children while they're online, teach them how to adjust their privacy settings on their social media accounts to manage access to their precious information. Even though it is not difficult to do this, each application is a bit different. There is a site that will instruct you in several of the popular social media apps: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and Twitter. It's called The Ultimate Guide on How to Manage Social Media Privacy Settings and can be found at socialpilot.co. Next slide, please. Oh, you're way ahead of me. Okay. There is no doubt that social media has changed our world. Social media networks such as Facebook and Instagram are used by more than 3.6 billion people worldwide and has connected the entire globe in ways no one could have imagined. We are able to keep abreast of world news in an instant, stay connected to our loved ones far away, and make new international friends. While social media holds the promise of thousands of followers and a euphoric rise at the top of the online social ladder, the opposite is also true. The dark side of social media is that within seconds, your privacy can be violated. Things can be altered. For example, pictures can now be transformed in horrific ways. Words can be taken out of context and blown completely out of proportion. There are always privacy concerns with social media. We have discussed before the false claim that your pictures are deleted within 10 seconds on Snapchat, when in reality, all of your images and posts are stored in the Snapchat gallery's hidden files. In addition, you can view images sent to and from a specific user and do many things that aren't even advertised. If you want more information on this, it can be found on Business Insider or Quora.com, to name a few. There is also the chance that your post is shared with all of the friends on your friend's profile, like Jen talked about earlier. Improper privacy settings can result in repurposing your post or unwanted sharing to third parties. Ensure you take the time to set permissions properly for every account. For security reasons, ensure that, however inconvenient, your passwords are different for each social media account, so it is not the guess one and get them all scenario. Michael mentioned that password managers are a great way to manage multiple password accounts, or he will mention it. This is true, but keep in mind that not all password managers are created equal. Please do research before choosing one. Pay attention to previous breaches and how they were handled. Jason was telling us about how phishing, or maybe you're not on your phishing slide yet, are you, Jason? And steal your information. Social media can also harbor phishing attacks. While most phishing happens through email, 22.3% of phishing begins through social media. That's almost a quarter of all phishing attacks. Consider all links or any offers on social media as suspect. Always be careful of who you connect with as a social engineer. As a social engineer is a modern version of a grifter, a con man, and can make up the most believable stories to fool you. Always verify anything you get involved with. Do your research on websites before visiting them to ensure their validity. As mentioned earlier, be careful about everything you share on social media. Identities are constantly stolen, both adults and children. Protect your image, location, personal details, preferences, and identification, as well as that of your children, other family members, and friends. They are as vulnerable to your oversharing as you are to theirs. Don't share vacation photos while you're away. They'll know you're not home, and the GPS metadata attached to the pictures can tell them exactly where you are. Be safe. Wait until you're home to share. Using social media can be extremely rewarding or equally as devastating, and quite often what we do cannot be undone. Be aware and know the rules. Know the risks as well. Michael, off to you.
So Jason, Jen, and Jackie have all talked a little bit about ways that you can protect yourself and ways that you can learn more about how privacy and cybersecurity work. But a few of the easiest things that you can do is start with a strong password. NIST, the National Institute of Science and Technology, used to advise using an 8-character password, at least an 8-character password, with a capital letter, number, a special character, what we refer to as manglers. And I'm sure that everybody at some point or another has struggled trying to come up with a way to create one of these passwords. Bill Burr created this concept almost 24 years ago, and he's also since publicly apologized and said that this is not a good system. The current NIST standard, which if you guys are really curious, is NIST 800-63B, suggests getting rid of the numbers and the special characters. Computers think in these patterns. They think in numbers, they think in special characters and letters. They don't see a difference between them. But people do not. The current guidelines actually suggest using a longer password, using sentences or phrases. So like in the example, to be or not to be, is something that's easy to remember. It's complex and long enough that it would actually take 33,000 years to crack, versus something like the Mangler method with the number 2, lowercase b, etc., would take about 2 years to brute force. And Jason can go into details on this, but people don't try to brute force anymore. They use dictionaries. And with something like 35 million accounts having been compromised, and even a larger number of passwords, these dictionaries make it very easy for hackers to crack this type of password. So the key is don't use things that are easily guessed, birthdays, place names, hobbies. A longer password is better. It's harder to crack. And the easier way to learn to memorize a harder password or a longer password is to think in sentences as opposed to words. We try to use the term passphrases now, which you can still see I have trouble when I fall back to passwords. But also enable your two-factor or your multi-factor authentication. This adds an extra layer. Using push notifications is much safer than using an SMS text message. And if you are enabling this, even if somebody guesses your password or obtains your password, they still need your phone or your device to access your account. And of course, NIST 800-63B then goes on and suggests some biometrics and some other things to add levels of complexity to it. Jackie. Jackie's still muted, but one of the things that we want to talk about. Did you get it, Jackie?
I did. I'm sorry. I'm sure you've heard several times to keep your software and devices up to date. But do you know why this is so important? According to research from BitSight, Computers running on outdated operating systems are 3 times more likely to suffer a data breach. Once a vulnerability in software or an operating system is discovered, the company puts out a security update or software patch to make it safe again. To stay on top of the many patches and updates, ensure you set all of your software to auto-update and accept the request to update them as soon as you are prompted. If you have not updated your operating system, software, or antivirus, malware or malicious software like viruses, spyware, ransomware, and other unwanted software can secretly install itself on your computer. You may have malware if you notice your computer acting strangely, such as slowing down, crashing, or displaying error messages, not restarting or shutting down, quickly running out of battery, not allowing you to remove software, showing inappropriate ads such as pop-ups or ads that infringe on page content, displaying new toolbars or icons on your desktop or browser that you didn't install, resetting to a new default search engine or home page on your browser. Additionally, it may be displaying new tabs or websites you didn't open. If you notice any of these or other strange behavior, you should immediately stop shopping, banking, and doing other online activities that involve usernames, passwords, or other sensitive information. You can resume once the malware has been removed. Regarding your devices, the older your devices are, the more likely they are to become incompatible to the newest or updated versions of software. Vulnerabilities can appear over time, and your device or operating system may no longer be supported. You will no longer be provided security updates or software patches, and you will remain at risk. On a final note, ensure that in addition to antivirus, you have a firewall to keep an eye out for any cyber threats and do regular scans to make sure your device is clean. So off to you, Jason.
Thank you, Jackie. So some things to look out for to detect social engineering attacks, right? Look out for urgent calls to action for threats. Always be suspicious of emails that claim you must click, call, or open an attachment immediately. A common tactic is to cause a false sense of urgency to get you thinking not cyber safe. Next, be aware of first-time or infrequent senders. While it is not unusual to receive an email from someone for the first time, especially if they're from outside your organization, this can be a sign of phishing. Also, look out for mismatched email domains. If the email claims to be from a reputable company like Microsoft or your bank, but the email is being sent from a domain such as gmail.com or microsoftsupport.ru, it's probably a scam. Also, be leery and suspicious of links or unexpected attachments. If such you find in your emails, take your time and think about, what am I looking at, right? Don't open any links or attachments you see unless you're 100% sure it's legit. And one way to kind of test that is to take your mouse and hover over the link without clicking it to see if the address matches the link that it was typed in the message. If you look over to the right in the upper right, that box gives an example of how to hover over the link if you've never done it before. Also, since we talked about earlier, technology is evolving, right? QR codes are everywhere. Restaurants that pop up in your text and email. Take the same approach. When in doubt, don't click it, because as soon as you authorize to open that QR code, you're consenting to who knows what. The things that just went over, please be leery of those same calls to urgent threats or mismatched domains in your text messages, and doing your multi-factor authentication. If you get a request to approve or accept and you didn't go on any sites for access, do not press it. Next. Okay, so we've been talking about report. So depending on what platform or OS or app you're using, reporting the malicious email may look slightly different, right? Depending on say you're in Outlook, you see the first picture? Well, that picture is the easy spot. Report. You can read it. But oftentimes we're on mobile devices or on browsers that it may not be so transparent. If you look to the right, usually of the date, you'll see 3 little dots. Click on those dots, and then from there it'll break out with a report message. Usually, if you're still having issues, please feel free to contact the help desk for assistance. Thank you.
So remember, once something is online, it rarely goes away. Beyonce has been attempting to remove a picture from her performance at the Super Bowl halftime show since February 4th, 2013. If she doesn't have the resources to remove the picture, then it's likely that we do not either. You can still Google and find this picture and several others that she has wanted to scrub. So if you take nothing else from today's topic, remember these steps. One, update your devices. Use antivirus and VPNs. Check the accounts for breaches. Check your accounts for breaches. You can go to haveibeenpwned.com. I'll put that in the chat if you guys want to look at it. It will show you your accounts that have been exposed through some sort of malicious activity or incompetence or something badly written. And pay attention to the web addresses. There's a lot of very talented groups of people who are very good about making websites look legit that are not. So pay attention. Do not overshare. Ask yourself, who needs to know this and why do they need to know this now? So yeah, like I said, once something is on the internet, it's pretty much there forever. Be careful about clicking on pop-ups, links, or attachments. If something is too good to be true, it probably is. If you use public Wi-Fi, use a VPN. Don't ignore your kids. They spend a lot of time online. Educate them how to protect themselves and how to be good digital citizens. And again, if you have any questions about any of the things that we've talked about, or if you want to talk about privacy, please reach out. We're happy to meet with you. We're happy to talk with you. Happy to answer any questions that we can. Thank you. Jennifer?
And just as Michael said, here are some ways to contact us if your child needs assistance, anything related to our UK services, their UK account, they've clicked on something and think they've shared their username and password with somebody that they shouldn't have, they can contact 218-HELP for assistance. For training, for educational alerts, they can always go to our CyberSafe website, which if you didn't scan the QR code, there is the direct link that we talked about earlier. And then, as Michael said, you can always email us at any time if you have any questions about anything at cybersecurity@uky.edu. That goes to our entire team. And so someone will get back with you as soon as possible on any questions, or if you have questions about training, or if your child is involved in a club or organization and you think that we should go speak to that club or organization, feel free to email there too, and we can set something up for your child's club, organization, sports team, or whatnot to hear a presentation similar to today's. If you are watching this presentation after the fact, you've obviously found it, but if you've watched it live with us today and want to go back and see it later, there's the Parent and Family Engagement Facebook where it will be posted, and also we'll also have it up on our ITS YouTube channel as well. I'll now turn it back over to Nikki. Again, thank you all for having us. And I'm not sure if there's time for questions or if there are any, but I'll leave that up to Nikki and crew. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, and the rest of the team. This was really helpful information. In fact, I started thinking about whether or not I should go and change all of my passwords. So that is good. One question that I have is, you've been talking a lot about social media and computers and email. What about someone who might be receiving more than average numbers of spam phone calls or text messages. What are some things that people can do to secure those particular platforms as well?
So most cell phone companies actually have a way to filter those out. They have different tools that you can launch, which will, if it's known spam, it will not go through to you. And you can mark calls as spam. You can essentially block them or send them directly to your voicemail. But typically that's another example of information that's gotten out. Your cell phone number, whatever, has gotten out through some means or another that you need to look at. And truthfully, at a certain point, it's almost impossible to stop it because a lot of these calls will be auto-generated in countries that do not have laws to prevent it. And it makes it difficult to actually protect yourself from it. But being aware, using the tools that are available to you by default, you can filter and block the calls, and it'll cut down on some. But short of honestly changing your cell phone number, it's hard to really get rid of all of it entirely. One of the earliest privacy laws is called the CAN-SPAM, and it's designed to stop things like this and telemarketing rules. But if it's outside the United States that it originates at, or if it's being done criminally, they don't care. I mean, they're already breaking the law, so what does it matter if they're breaking another one? So.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something too. You know the old adage, buyer beware? Well, the same thing goes for anyone who contacts you by email, by phone, whatever. If it isn't something that you generated or you initiated, don't trust it. Don't trust it. Don't press a button. Don't click on a link. Don't open an attachment until you do some specific research to make sure that it's valid.
I will add to that. What I often do if I get a call that's unsolicited, if it's an unknown number, I will pick it up, but be very wary about the call. And if it's someone claiming to be from Visa, Capital One, even University of Kentucky, I will often take their name and say, okay, thank you. What is this regarding? And then I will hang up and I will search the reputable number online and call whatever organization has claimed to call me and ask for that person in that specific division and explain the situation. And probably about 98% of the time, if that person doesn't work there, they're not calling you for that reason. And so you have to be a little bit investigative about the calls, especially if you didn't initiate them.
And a couple of important things to remember is if you do answer the call, you do not need to respond. They are trying to trick you into doing something, saying yes, say yes, yes, etc., which they can record and then use that later for some other purpose. So if you get an inquiry from somebody, like Jennifer said, that is representing somebody from a number you do not know or recognize, you can simply hang up and call the reputable number back. But do not respond to the questions. They'll ask you things like, press a button to stop getting this call. They're just trying to identify potential targets. Just hang up. That's the only button you need to press in that situation.
Well, thank y'all so much. This was very helpful information. Again, we have recorded this presentation and we'll be posting it on our Facebook page as well as YouTube later this week. So if you have any questions for our panelists, feel free to put those in the comments and we'll try to get answers to you as quickly as we possibly can. And if your student is having any trouble with technology, the help desk is a great place to go for assistance. Just send them over, have them give them a call, go to one of the kiosks, and they are very responsive and very helpful. So I wanted to give that plug to them as well. We will be having more Cat Chat Live series coming soon in the spring, so be sure to check our website to learn more about what those are going to be. But if you have any questions or any ideas on topics that you'd like to see on Cat Chat Live, feel free to email parents@uky.edu, and I'd be happy to respond to those questions, concerns, or ideas. Thanks so much, everyone. Hope you have a great week. Stay warm and go Cats.